Hello and welcome to another YouTube video from yours truly. Today I'll be Rotaru and you can be my faithful viewer. I have been playing, not recording, for quite some time now. And most recently I have played a Burgundy into the Netherlands game. Now this one, it really took off in a way that I didn't expect. I thought I would eat France. That was kind of my goal. I did not expect to be as strong as I am. So while I was at it, I managed to pick up a few achievements. I do play in Iron Man mode. I'm a Chivo hunter. And I think the three big ones that I picked up were the new one, all your trade are belong to us. And that was having the most trade in Genoa, Venice, and the English Channel while earning 300 ducats. Another one I picked up was... oh god, I can't think of it. Oh, Trade Hegemon. Hegemon? Hegemon. Something like that. Probably doesn't sound as stupid as what I just said. Anyway, that was to own Aden and Hormuz and Malacca as a Western European nation. And as the Netherlands, that certainly applies. And the last big one that I picked up, it took me the entire game up to this point. Building up to this, I had planned for it very early to take all of India as a core province. Now, very recently, this place was filled with forts. I even removed the coastal ones and just left the land borders forts up at this point. It was really costing me a lot of ducats, and I wanted to just rip that, what is it, all your trade belongs to us achievement out of the way. Got 300 ducats a month. It was easy. It looks like Russia has just eaten a lot of Malacca. I did not expect that. Now they're being eaten by Spain as well. Huh. Anyway, I made a huge mistake, and I thought that Trade Hegemon called for owning all of the Malucas. And the Malucas are these little islands down here. After I finished eating up all of India, which was about 50 years ago at this point, I spent the rest of that time warring with Russia, warring with Spain, warring with Portugal and England to own all of the Malucas. I did it. I own all the Malucas. But that has nothing to do with any achievement, and I felt like such a bonehead because owning Malacca, Aden, and Hormuz, that was easy. That took me 5 years max to get that achievement. I just warred across the south here, and took this entire coastline. I didn't even need to. And Hassa just happened to be allied with Persia. And Persia, of course, owned Hormuz. So I just sat on Hassa's face and asked them to give me Hormuz. I didn't have to fight Persia at all. Now I want to talk a little bit about how I got all of India and how that went. Well, the central Indian traditions that have like a 50% increased coring cost, they are ridiculous. They even took aristocratic ideas, so the coring costs were 100% more than what they would be otherwise. So if I didn't have 110% reduced coring cost from my late game admin efficiency and it being distant overseas, this is over 200 to core. It's ridiculous. Just that one province, and it was an itty bitty one. Yeah, Nagar, 9 base tax. Yeah. So I had a rough time. Vijayanagar, they were enormous. I had so many wars with Vijayanagar, and that's not usually how it goes. Like, I never see Vijay really exist beyond mid-game too much. But they had conquered all of Baluchistan, up into Afghanistan. They had the entire western coastline. And all of Gujarat, all of Sindh, all of this land over in the west belonged to Vijayanagar. Just them. They were huge, and they were western, and it was tough slogging it out with them. I took the lands in Bengal and Orissa first. They were relatively small and weak, so that was very easy, and this is where I staged pretty much the entire invasion of India proper. This little bit of land here over in the east, getting into Southeast Asia, this was because I had really long truces with the rest of India, and I had admin points to blow. So I figured, why don't I just take the land that I need to add to my trade company here? And I took a few extra. What was it? Tamanthi and Tongdut. They're not part of any trade company, but I wanted my borders to look good. Who doesn't, really? And yeah, I wanted the Dutch East India Company land, and I grabbed that. I think I'm missing, yeah, a few provinces here. Yeah, I think these three are the last three that I do not own for the Dutch East India Company, but I have very little interest in continuing this campaign at the moment, considering I have completed Master of India, which was my goal from the get-go. I wanted to play as the Netherlands and achieve that. I also wanted to eat France, make them not exist. So when you click your button, form Netherlands, you don't give up any cores. If France does not exist, you keep all your stuff. So that's how the beginning of the game went. I just, ate France. And after I ate France, like before I was even finished eating France, I knew I wanted to conquer India. So completed that, conquered India, got the trade hegemon, as I said, Hormuz, Aden, Malacca, and I spent a large portion of the game trying to get the Malucas, but we'll just ignore that I did that. Yeah, let's see, how did early colonization go for me? I just recently took this land here, Madagascar, all the little islands. These are new acquisitions, so ignore that in Africa. But I knew I needed to get land closer to India to be able to start coring it. So shortly after I finished eating France, I got my expansion ideas. So I started expanding a little bit. I took a province in Cuba. Well, not Cuba, but the Caribbean region. I took a province. I colonized, I think, Saint Eustatius first. This was my very first colony. And that was because Great Britain had colonized here in St. Martin. Now, since then, my colony has already converted the culture there, but Great Britain had colonized all of the island of Havana. This was all Great Britain's clay, their rightful clay. And Castile had a really, really shit game. They were reduced to a 3-province minor, exiled to Cuba. These were the 3 Castilian cores left in the game, and I fabricated on them, took their land, took Great Britain's land, and Cuba formed. So, starting right off the bat, they had most of the Caribbean already under their control. Later on, Portugal and Great Britain, they would go on to... Portugal and later on Spain would go on to colonize the rest of the Caribbean, which we just took from them later on in wars. Once Spain had no allies or they were in a personal union, I forced Cuba to go to war for the rest of the land here. So that's how that went. Dutch Columbia, I only colonized because I had missions to do so. It's part of the Netherlands thing. Back when there was Guyana, colonial region. It would have you colonize these colonies, or these bits of land over here to form Guyana, which was, a Dutch thing. So that's what I did there. I recently took this little bit of land here from, I think, Great Britain, and gave that to Dutch Columbia. That is the extent of the Colombian colonial region. It's the only reason I nabbed that. And as I said, that's recent. I want to talk about stuff that I started the game with. Started colonizing Cuba, started colonizing Colombia, and that was to jump down here to the east. And since I had my cores and claims in Colombia and Cuba, I was able, in my next war with Portugal, to take a lot of their stuff. I next colonized Arguin, brought that up from nothing. That's been my core since the beginning of the game. They just kind of skipped over it, Iberia and England. They just skipped it, so it's mine. I took a bunch of land from Portugal in the next war. All of his little islands, the Azores, Cape Verde, and the entire western coast here in West Africa. I took that from Portugal directly. That gave me my very first trade company merchant, which was very helpful in getting some early economy running. Since then, I've kind of let Portugal do their own thing in West Africa. I haven't taken any more of their stuff, so they've got a couple of colonies here. Other than that, all the little islands, except for South Georgia and the Falklands, just ignore those. Oh, also very early on, I helped Brazil get their independence. I joined in a war with Brazil to get independent from Portugal. And I think that's when I even took... No, I didn't get any land in that war, but I did help them get independent. It was very easy. Terra de Veracruz. I guess that's what Portugal calls another Brazilian colony if Brazil is independent. That's interesting. I've never seen that. Anyway, from West Africa, I just kind of bebopped around. I took land from Congo. I did not make them a protectorate. I've been having recent games where Congo and Mutapa, they've been westernizing after I've made them protectorates, and then I just lose all control of them. And they end up allying another European power. It's very annoying. Anyway, immediately after colonizing and taking this land next to the Congo, that's as middle Africa as you can get, I dropped a colony down in Lesser Namaqualand. And that's because Great Britain had started colonizing the Cape Coast. And I really, really wanted this colony. It is the only important center of trade in all of South Africa. There's only one trade node here, down at the bottom, Cape of Good Hope. Now, if you don't have the Cape Coast, this one province right here, you have zero trade power comparatively. So that's a very important one to get. If you have one province in South Africa, it better be the Cape of Good Hope, or you're just not controlling any of the trade. All of the trade from the east that goes down the west coast of Africa, it ends up here in the Cape of Good Hope. You want to be pushing this. You want those multipliers. 103 ducats are being pushed out. And I'm increasing the value of that by 7%. And everybody who trades in the south here, they increase value as well. So yeah, it's just very, very important. Anyway, I made sure to grab that from Great Britain. At the very same time, I declared another war on Mutapa. Or was it Malindi? It was Malindi. I didn't really mess with Mutapa any. Mutapa's been doing their own thing, and very recently they've been allied with Great Britain, and I just didn't want to mess with that. Malindi was huge. They ate up the entire Horn of Africa here in the east. They ate all of Kilwa. So I took pretty much all of the Kilwinese lands in that early war, and that got me enough colonial range to get missions to conquer parts of India, and that's how it began. I got a little naval base on the east down here. I just took the next one up in Bengal, and it was just a slow, inexorable crawl over the rest of India over the next several centuries, starting probably late 1500s until mid 1700s. Took me that long to get all of India. This achievement is no longer a joke. Look at all these provinces. Like, I don't remember which patch it was that added all of these provinces to India, but it's like quadruple the size it used to be. If you had this achievement back then, you know, golf clap. Very good job. You get it now, that's a true achievement. It is tough. It's not the easiest thing. I've played other games, other colonizers, Great Britain, for example. If you make some very easily made tactical mistakes early on in the game, you just won't have the military capability. You won't have the manpower, the points. You won't have the control that you need to take India if you play a sloppy game. So it's difficult now. Very difficult, especially with the admin costs. The admin costs are out of control. Local nobility on some of these, you have Rajput traditions on some of the others. This entire region up here, this took probably the vast majority of the time it took to conquer India. All of these, this central region up here. The rest of this fell easily. On the eastern coast was so easy comparatively. So I suggest anybody who wants this achievement, Master of India, you start in the east. You start in Bengal. You start in South India. You curb stomp Vijayanagar before they get as big as they did. Most often, if you're going to deal with India, Bamanis, the little Muslim country that starts off in the middle of India here, they end up taking over most of India proper. Jaunpur, they end up eating a lot of Bengal, a lot of Tibet. Jaunpur gets huge. So it's usually Bamanis, Jaunpur, and whoever exists in the west. I forget who usually exists at that point. But it's three major Indian powers you have to deal with, not just one huge Vijayanagar. And the more I say it, the less I want to say Vijayanagar. It's such a ridiculous word. Anyway, before I end this video, let's just go ahead and give a little overview of how the world is going right now. Russia is colonizing like crazy. Russia didn't have any trouble forming. They didn't have any trouble eating the hordes. They're still in the process of that. They have some wars with the Ottomans sometimes that slows down their expansion to some extent, but for the most part, they're colonizing just fine. They're ignoring the last little bit of Siberia here in favor of colonizing all of the little islands in Polynesia and eastern Australia. And that's where they're spending the last of their colonial points. Russia beat me out to New Zealand here. I had got one province in New Zealand before I had to just call it quits, say, you know what, Russia, you got those, that's your thing. New Holland is culturally Portuguese. It has very few Dutch provinces, and these only exist due to my colony changing the culture. I took all of the island from Portugal, the continent from Portugal in a single war. That was when I was kicking them out of the Malucas and all that, and taking their existing land in Malacca. Portugal does not exist in the little island in Polynesia, Indonesia, anything like that. Portugal's out. I kicked them out. So, who remains? Russia and Great Britain. Russia has most of the islands that don't belong to me. Great Britain has a few provinces, mostly this island chain here. Eastern Island, Rapa Nui. Is that right? That's not Easter Island. That's Easter Island. They have Rapa Nui, Hawaii, and this island chain here. The rest of it belongs to Russia and me. Anyway, Ming exploded rather early. I didn't have anything to do with that. I never fought Ming. I never actually saw them physically. By the time I was conquering India, I think they had already exploded. Manchu exists and has existed for some time. For whatever reason, they have not conquered Beijing and formed Qing. If they had done that, Manchu would be considerably larger, or Qing would be considerably larger than they are now. As of the moment, they're a valuable ally against Russia, so I'm keeping in their good graces. Persia I used. They are Western tech. They have caught up militarily in tech with me, so I used them as well against Russia. They invaded up through this region here, Kievan region. Prussia is a weird one. Prussia was the Teutonic Order for a very, very long time. Brandenburg was spit out of the Teutonic Order and proceeded to eat what was left of the Teutonic Order. After the Teutonic Order had a fantastic game, completely annexing Poland, completely annexing all of the northern Germanic states, Teutonic Order was huge. One bad war, they had to spit out Poland, they had to spit out Brandenburg. Brandenburg proceeded to eat what was left of them. Poland actually became the emperor of the HRE for a time, regained all of their cores, but they weren't meant to last. Austria has exploded ever so slightly. Early on, the 18th century, I think that's right, they ate all of the northern German states. Austria was massive. And then the rebels came. Thousands upon hundreds of thousands of rebels exploded out of northern Germany in Austria. Out came Cleves and Hesse and Nassau. Out came, Hamburg, Brunswick, the Hansa, Pomerania. And then these little nations proceeded to be gobbled up by Cleves, Prussia, Bavaria, and Switzerland banded together to eat what was left of Central Austria here. Bohemia has been left alone pretty much all game. They lost every core that was not Czech. Yeah, they only exist with their Czech culture group here. They lost all their Saxon stuff, they lost their Silesian stuff, and nobody's touched them. They haven't gone to war with anybody. They've just been sitting there in a little Czech block. Provence, I let live. I had the opportunity to take Metz, Lotharingen, and one other province I had a claim on very early on, but I didn't want to have a coalition form against me, so I ended up just taking Barrois, Anjou, and Maine, and that was it. I haven't been to war with Provence since. When we were dismantling France, Toulouse existed for a very long time in this little block here. Provence proceeded, as the game drug on, to eat Toulouse and to eat the land I had left for Great Britain here in Gascony. So that's why Provence is so big. I could have ended them earlier, but they're just a little beard on my massive empire. I do not care about Provence. And you might be asking, why would I just let Great Britain have this little chunk of land down in Gascony? Because of the Bordeaux node. Yes, if they had this land here, they would have their own merchants individually pushing up from Bordeaux into the Champagne node. And from the Champagne node, Great Britain pushes into the English Channel. So that's 10% trade power, 10% trade power, 20%, or however the multiplicative math works, that's all getting pushed up into the English Channel. Since they lost that land, I've had less money, effectively, coming into the English Channel. But it's okay. I I'm just about done with this campaign. If I wanted more control, I suppose I could have taken more of terrestrial France before I started my overseas empire. But really, my goal was to take India. I completed that goal. Anyway, the Netherlands has an early event that pops up to make them reformed. The Reformed religion is huge. In mainland Germany, France, and all that, there are no Catholic empires. We have a big Reformed bloc that goes all through Italy, all through my land, and, well, France, Netherlands, and just this big Protestant bloc up here. I took that event because I knew that Reformed gave me bonuses to stability, if I so choose, which is -2%, or -2 unrest if you have the stability focus. This was very useful taking over India. I haven't had to harsh treatment any revolts. I haven't had to increased autonomy. I have wonderful tolerance of heretics, so that ended up being +3 right away. I've never had to convert any of my mainland here, except unless I felt like it. And with the humanist idea group, I have 25% increased religious unity, which doesn't matter when it comes to heretics, because I have the same tolerance as I have of Reformed. It's essentially irrelevant having Protestant or Catholic in my lands. They count exactly the same as Reformed, except you can't culture convert the land, which I'm not doing anyway. In my mainland provinces, I only have, I think, 1 or 2 cultures that are not accepted. Yeah, and that's southern France. That's Périgord, Limousin, Auvergne, and Lyonnais. They are Occitane and Aquitanian. If I wanted to, I could culture convert that, but I don't want to. I did have to culture convert Normandy. 2 provinces was never, ever, ever going to be enough to get accepted. Breton, I did manage to bump up all of their development enough to be accepted. So I didn't have to culture convert that. Brittany is pretty huge. Their land is great. They have 2 farmland provinces and 2 grassland provinces, meaning increasing development here is very cheap. What else did I want to go over? Reformed, humanist. If you want to take any sort of overseas empire, you need to take humanist. There's no 2 ways about that. Unless you're playing a nation that has increased tolerance of the truth faith, then you get some great stability from increased tolerance of the true faith. So all you really need to do is take religious ideas, you convert that, and no issue there. But I can take 100% overextension with admin tech efficiency 3, or admin efficiency 3. No revolts with humanist and with reformed. It's really great for taking big chunks of land at once without having to worry about any of that. Anyway, I think I have been rambling on for quite some time now. I do intend to make some more videos, so just watch out for that. Today is the first day I've had everything set up after a very extended disappearance. But I felt like recording. I felt like sharing a little bit of what I've been doing in EU4 with you guys. If you would like to see more, go ahead and let me know. I'm glad to talk with you in the comments. Anyway, I have been Rogeru. Good luck.